Hello and welcome to another Daily Muppet, doing our normal outdoors video today on the weekend. And not a lineup hint, or is it? Yeah, it is. Fred will be starting today. But wanted to talk about obviously the news that's come out from Mark Kleinman at Sky with regards to the sale process, as there's a few interesting pieces of information in there, as well as talk about transfers and where things are and if they're still kind of held up. So let's sort of just get right into first the transfers, because it obviously ties into the sale process, and I think that's a little more interesting. So with regards to the transfer situation, there's a report from Simon Mullock overnight. They're still paralyzed, I think was the word he used. I actually didn't read the whole article, but I saw that had come out. I got a text overnight from somebody who hadn't been met up with some coaches from another team, and that team had been in talks or is looking at bringing in some United youth players and some of the fringe players potentially in on loan next season. And he told me that United told him that they cannot give any decisions yet. And this was as recently as yesterday. So obviously the situation remains the same on that front, that United cannot actually progress on the deals that they are looking to make to the final stages without this sale process concluding. And so all this recent activity, I was speaking with someone about that because I've been looking into it all week, trying to find out, okay, is all this recent activity a result of the sale, or as we discussed, simply the fact that maybe we're getting close to the end of the sale, but also we've secured top four and they want to move on their targets. And as far as I can tell, it's simply a matter of, Murtough, Ten Hag, moving forward with what they need to and want to do on deals to get them lined up, with the expectation that very soon they'll be able to spend. But as of yet, things have not changed. Top four was certainly the major decider. There is an idea in mind of how much they're going to be able to spend this summer no matter what, even if the Glazers did not sell at all. There is an idea in mind. It's better than what has been out there, that $100 million. I've been talking about the FFP situation for some time without even factoring in new owners, that United could spend quite a bit. The improved CL money, Champions League money, as well as, other departures and things definitely confirms that they could probably spend 150 to 200 million. I think 150 would be safe without sales and without even necessarily getting to the 90% cap. So I think that, when you're looking at some of the news that's out there, Rabiot plus Mount plus throwing a big offer at Harry Kane for 100 million, which I don't think will get accepted. That's the other piece of information and news, right? Came out that they, from Samuel Luckhurst, that United are basically operating still as if they don't think they'll get Kane, even though they're going to try. And that's how I've heard it for some time now, right? That I didn't think they'd be able to get Kane. I think they know that it's going to be unlikely to get Kane. And so they're continuing to work on alternatives. And that's why I've talked about, Rasmus Holland, as well as, Osimhen, Ramos, of course. So I think there's a strong possibility that they, are just lining these things up. It's not desperate as of yet. They don't have to agree the whole deals. They don't have to make the actual bids. If they get things up to a point where they know by June 7, June 10, we can make this bid, that's okay. That'll be all right. But they're going to need to, or teams will obviously want to move on, especially in the case of someone like Mason Mount. If there's potential offers from Newcastle or Arsenal or Liverpool, they'll want to make sure. But obviously it's down to also the player waiting for their preference, if they're willing to say, oh yeah, wait till mid-June, not a big deal. Adrian Rabiot being the others mentioned that they held exploratory talks or explored it from Agresti from Italy. And so I really do think it's kind of lining up to look like maybe the initial moves are that Rabiot, Mount, and Kane. And then maybe, not saying we'll get all three of those, but those are the initial moves. And then from there, moving to, alternates and sales and things like that. But it is still somewhat frozen at the moment. All right, so how does that all tie into the sale? Obviously, it cannot be unfrozen until the sale process is at least moving forward and unlocked. According to Mark Kleiman at Sky, INEOS and Sir Jim Ratcliffe's bid for majority control still is the leading bid, but the Glazers and the United Board of Directors have declined to move into exclusive talks with any party. I don't know if people are actually confused about this, or this is just people who are blindly reading and listening to the people who are spreading completely unverified and false information about the sale that just happen to be Qatar fans, because there's no real there's no real dilemma here. First of all, you have to separate reporters. Mark Kleiman never said that INEOS were about to enter exclusive talks with the Glazers and Rain Group. But there's a couple of important things here. So, Mark Kleiman never said they were about to. So it taking a long time doesn't change that. But there's a couple of strong, important pieces of information here. One is Rain Group met with the board of directors to advise them on the sale, on the progress of the sale and where things are at, okay? So take that first and just think that through. Rain Group met with the board of Manchester United and the Glazers to update them on the sale situation, okay? So this goes strongly against the concept that there are talks occurring between the parties and the Glazers directly. Understand? That is an important point. It was somewhat rubbished by the Telegraph and others about a week and a half ago, after it initially came out that they went to the Glazers directly and that the talks are continuing with the Glazers directly. I've said that I have severe doubts that that is exactly how it went down, because any deal maker worth their salt would not allow that to happen, and the Glazers are not the ones handling the sale. They have not been the ones handling the sale since the start. So, first of all, there's that. Rain Group are the ones handling the sale. Rain Group are the one talking to the parties. Rain Group are the one giving the information about the deals to the Glazers and the directors and the board of Manchester United, which would be, a few other people, shareholders. How can a party be leading when there's no exclusive negotiations being entered for some time? I have felt that they would not enter exclusive negotiations with anybody. They would simply work through the deal with both parties or whichever party until they have an acceptable deal. And the wording in the article specifically says as well that they will, it's not expected for a deal to be signed, is what it said. Not enter exclusive talks by the FA Cup. It said it's not expected for a deal to be signed before the FA Cup final. And so when you take the wording of it and you put the whole article together, what you really kind of get is Rain Group are in talks with the parties, and what it sounds like to me is that the INEOS bid, following the bid from Qatar, is still better. It's still a bid that is leading in terms of valuation, in terms of payouts, but there are details and discussions and things that have to be worked out and agreed upon that are not yet. What those things might be are, of course, the current valuation payment to the other Glazer siblings and any other shareholders that might be involved in this, but maybe there's one or two, Ed Woodward for one. And the price and timing of those put and call options. Those are details that would have to be worked out and negotiated in order for a deal to happen. And it's likely those are some of the things being discussed. How one could be leading without entering into exclusive talks is, of course, the bid is viewed as better. They're still negotiating and working on the details of said bids. So obviously it's not done. It's not all agreed. It's not all set. But that does align with what I heard earlier in the week that I put on video, which is that INEOS were still involved in the conversation. They've not been asked to make a better bid. Why? Because they have the best bid. And that they are continuing in their talks at the moment. and are calm about the situation, and that would make sense. If they know that they have the better bid, still following the latest from Qatar, from Sheikh Jassim, then it would of course make sense that they're calm in that case. And that's the simple situation. There's been no other news. To ignore what Mark Kleinman says is head in the sand silly. He's probably, you can follow his stuff. He's not a football reporter. He's probably one of the foremost leading financial reporters in the area, broke the news originally, and is very well connected to these things. Probably I would take his word. I wouldn't be surprised if he breaks the story in the end, but I would take him at the top of any list, given that he broke the story open originally and given what kind of news he generally reports on, which is financial and all of that. So I know that most people are reasonable and aren't putting their head in the sand and saying, oh, this is all BS and all that. But anyway, it aligns with everything we've heard. It makes a little more sense why I was hearing that, not that we get an announcement, that we might get some news in the video I had on Thursday, if that's when the board meeting was happening. There might have been some awareness of that board meeting happening from people I speak with. In some non-specificity, they might have been hoping that the outcome of it was a final to the process, but that was just not the case as of yet. Let's see what else on this. But yeah, it all makes sense. It's a slow process here. Hopefully I get an update next week. I want to find out if INEOS side are frustrated with the slowness of the situation and the fact that it's not accepted and done, and they're still kind of going round and round on the bids. But everything tends to be slow with the Glazers. But my full expectation of how this goes is the discussions continue. They don't enter into an exclusive situation with any party unless it's a day or two away from being finalized, or it's literally in the actual legal phases where the bid is accepted, simply because it weakens everyone's position to do so and to eliminate either party, that they work through the details until it is done. Okay, so that's what we've got for today. Obviously United's final league game today, which is not very meaningful. Difference between third and fourth perhaps, which is a few $1 million. I think it's 3.7 million pounds per the Athletic, the difference of payments between third and fourth. So probably worth getting, you know, with the current FFP thing that could cover a player's wages, certainly. So probably worth it. Be a somewhat rotated side in there. Dalot will play, Maguire will play, Fred will play. A lot of the stuff's already kind of out there, so not a big deal. But anyway, thank you for watching this video. Enjoy the rest of your weekends. I think it's a bank holiday everywhere on Monday, US and UK. So you're probably looking at later in the week for much in terms of updates. But after Kleinman's article, a lot of people, journalists, will be scrambling to try and get updates themselves. So I wouldn't be surprised if you start seeing some reports to match what he has said coming from other people. Okay, thanks for watching. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, turn notifications on, and I'll see you all later.